Welcome back to DESCareers at Dubai English Speaking College. I am excited to be interviewing our next guest. Today we're going to be meeting with Sebastian Courage, who is the Director of the Middle East and North Africa for St. George's University in Grenada. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm great. It's so exciting to be here and meeting you. I've just finished an interview with the Consul General of Grenada, and so we're already sold on coming to Grenada. This is exciting, and I know the university in its own capacity is a very exciting place for our students to be considering. And I thought that today we could talk a little bit about the School of Medicine and the types of opportunities that international students can be focusing on.
Yeah, no problem at all. I'm very happy to be here, Maria. Thanks very much.
Talk to us a little bit about the university, the personality of the university. I believe this is probably the most important thing a young person should be thinking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess let's take a step back to come forward. So I'll give you a little bit of the background of it. So we were founded back in 1976, and when we were founded back by a US doctor that couldn't get into medical school in the United States. His name was Dr. Charlie Modica, and when it was founded back then, it was very much for US students that couldn't get into medical school in the States. It's very difficult for a US student, as you probably know, to get into medical school in the States, let alone an international student, as it is in Canada and as it is in the UK. So for the first sort of 30 years of the university, it was a privately run university. And over the last 10 years, we had a very large investment from a very big company. And the investment was huge. And what they invested in was they invested in faculty and they invested into staff. And now I'm quite happy to say you've actually caught us quite at a good time. We've just found out 2 days ago that we're actually the #1 ranked medical school in the world in terms of placing doctors into the US healthcare system. So there's no other university in the world that has put more students into the US healthcare system. And we really now, opportunity-wise, 10 years ago, we started opening up our doors for international students. Now, unlike most other universities in the world, in the US or in the UK, as long as they've got the grades, we'll have them and we'll accept them, because what our remit is to fill the shortage of doctors in the US, the UK and Canada. And that's really where the majority of our students go. And really in Dubai, where I'm, as I said, I'm the director here, and in Dubai we started our footprint 3 or 4 years ago. And literally this year, I think we have 140, 150 applications from schools all in Dubai, from students that want to become a doctor in the US or in the UK or Canada. And we have a very, very seamless route. So yeah, that's a bit more about the background of the university. Incredible.
What's it like to be an international student living in Grenada?
Great question. It is, it's interesting because I have a lot of talk with parents about what is Grenada like. And having visited there many, many times and having lived in Dubai for 13 years, it's basically Dubai, but in another environment. The climate's the same, the safety, the security, the crime rate zero. I mean, you have your occasional pickpockets like you do everywhere in the world, but the crime rate is nothing. It's an island of about 100,000 people. Our university has 6,500 of the residents there are students and faculty and staff. So it's a very, very peaceful, very nice environment, but the campus is phenomenal. It's state of the art. It's a little bit like, from in the UAE, the American University of Sharjah, which is a US school in the UAE. We're a US school in Grenada, and it's beautiful. It's lovely.
Incredible. Talk to us about the grade level entry. You said that we will accept students based on their entry grade and their academics. What should a student considering medicine, whether it be veterinary medicine or the traditional essence of being a doctor in medicine, what should they be thinking about to apply?
Okay, so when they're at their A-levels, the A-level area, you need to do a biology, you need to do a chemistry, a must, and you'll need to do one other science, whether it's physics, whether it's math, or whether it's psychology or something like that. So we require 3 A-levels. But our A-level entry requirement, funny enough, is a BBB. Okay, and a lot of other universities in the UK and other places, they're AAA. Now, a lot of people ask us, well, why are your entry levels a little bit lower, and why do you have such a high ranking and such a success rate? The reason for that being is we have 6,500 medical students in our campuses, and we do actually have another branch for enough in the UK. But we have 6,500 medical students, and we have 3,500 support staff and faculty. So our classroom sizes are tiny. I mean, classroom sizes maximum is about 1 to 8. We do 75% of the curriculum is done in these very small breakout rooms, and 25% of the curriculum is done in the lecture format. So through our data, and for doing this over the last 46 years, we know a BBB student we will get through and get them to be a doctor. And we have a success rate last year of 95%. So it's working.
Incredible. Talk to us about GCSEs. So our younger students are really concerned about making the right choices at a GCSE level. The subjects that they're required to apply for at A levels are subjects that would be considered core subjects at GCSE. Then they have to select those other subjects that would show, interest in what they want to be doing. Does the university, and I know this is it's a hot topic when we're talking to those younger students and parents alike, are there specific GCSEs, are there specific subjects outside the sciences that would make a medical student much more competitive?
We do, and it's quite interesting. I've actually just recently been on a conversation about this about an hour ago, literally, about do universities look at the their GCSE scores? Yeah. And it is a hot topic, and I think a lot of British universities now, because the numbers are a lot lower, they do look at the GCSEs. We do look at GCSEs, but we're much more interested in the A-level, in the A-level scores. But to answer your question, yes, English is always good, because it's usually they're international students to see the English side. A little bit of creative, a geography or a bit of a geography histories. We do look at, but really we're more interested in the science. I mean, for us it's science. So if they've got GCSEs of math, physics, psychology, biology, chemistry, we'll look at those GCSEs. And we actually find if we do have an entry level for GCSE level. So we do take some GCSE students, and we have a 7-year program, but they need to have 6 GCSEs. But predominantly, we prefer to take A-level students, and they only have a 5-year MD program.
Incredible. What would you say a strong personal statement should have when students are applying to St. George?
Look, it's all about the personal statement. I mean, yes, it's a complete application is not just, hey, I've got great A-level grades. That helps. A great application also, there is something for medicine, there is something called the FSSC, and they're called the Committee on Admission. They're the people that really do look into an application. We require a 500-word personal statement, and that personal statement really should be speaking from the heart and saying why you want to be a doctor. Medicine is a career degree. Like law, like engineering. A lot of people do law because they want to be a lawyer. A lot of people do engineering because they want to be an engineer. A lot of people do medicine because they want to do medicine. And medicine is not what I call a 9-to-5 job. You've got to really be passionate about it. You want to help other people. As a veterinary science, the same thing. So they look at a personal statement about why you want to be a doctor. So we look, why does that student want to be a doctor? The other important thing is to get yourself involved in what we call extracurricular activities. To get yourself involved in doctor shadowing, and I know we're in the middle of COVID, and sometimes it's not as easy as what it can be. So seeing if you can get virtual experience in doing some online virtual shadowing, or a lot of the applicants' parents sometimes are doctors. It kind of breeds medicine, medicine breeds medicine. So getting some experience in maybe some surgeries or in some pharmacies, just that kind of extracurricular, doing medical clubs, getting involved in getting involved in student sort of leadership courses and things like that. So it's not just about the grade. You know, we look for extracurricular activities. We will also look for this 500-word personal statement on why they want to be a doctor. And obviously the grades is the tipping point.
Wonderful. What are the qualities of an ideal candidate when they're sitting an interview for St. George?
It's interesting again, you keep asking the questions that I had and I talked about it the other day. In the virtual world that we live in, it's very important to make sure you look good, you dress to impress, because a lot of the interviews nowadays are done on Zoom. So not in your pajamas, but in your, making yourself looking nice and smart. And also in medicine, there is something which we call bedside manner. Okay, and that is how you communicate with patients. And a lot of times in interviews, you're being tested whether you know this or whether you don't know this on what is called bedside manner. So my advice to students that are going through the interview process is always prepare 3 questions about the university that you're being interviewed for. What that does is that gives the student a little bit of control in the conversation that they're having, and that shows what we call bedside manner, because it means that you're interested in the interview that you're going through. So that might be a little tip that I can give to some of your interviews.
I've recently interviewed Dr. Bogdan, who's currently working for the NHS in the UK. And in our conversation, he said prior to the pandemic, a student at an interview from the UAE saying it's really challenging to find experiences of work, which it is. There are many, many, many challenges to that, would have been given an understanding of the challenges. But through the pandemic, that no longer is an acceptable plea. What would St. George University be expecting from students because of this pandemic?
That's a great question. We rely more on the school counsellors in an application. We're very heavily, certainly my team here likes to speak to the school counsellors to get more of a feeling of the student and their personality. What we also look for, normally a university looks for in their application 2 letters of recommendation. What we tend to ask for now is maybe 3 letters of recommendation. And what we've done as a university ourselves for students is we've actually brought in doctor shadowing for applicants that want to virtual doctor shadowing. So we're actually setting up 45-minute sessions, and we do it with a few partners here in the UAE to let students come on virtual shadowing programs so they can get a little bit better of a feel with it. So yeah, so we go kind of 2 ways. One to the counsellors to get more information on the student, but 2 to set up these programs whereby students, whether they come to St. George's or whether they don't come to St. George's, so they have that option to do some shadowing. So that's what we tend to do.
Looking through the eyes of St. George's University and the faculty and the staff and the doctors on board that team, if they were to answer this next question, what would they respond, or most likely to respond? So what are they expecting from candidates in that first year after they leave secondary school?
So secondary school is, what are they expecting? They're expecting them to maintain their grades, to be honest with you. With the one thing about the leap between a school and a university is you're left a lot more to your own devices as a student. However, I think we are slightly different, and they're expecting the students to turn up to study, to come to classes, etc. But St. George's is different because we do have that same support as what they do have in a high school. So we're a little bit different. So we are expecting the students to turn up and be at class because we've got that support mechanism in there that they do have at high school. So we kind of really do support them through the whole system, like happens at high school. However, they are more independent. The students need to basically think a little bit more on their own 2 feet. It's a little bit moving from GCSEs into the A-level bit where students are really left more to their own devices. But here at a university, obviously, they're left a little bit more to their own devices. So it's a little bit of a difficult question, that, because we actually have that support mechanism in there. So they really are looked after at St. George's. But they need to be on time, turn up and everything like that. I mean, it's serious business.
So bringing up the costs, what does it cost for a parent to put their child through medical school?
That's a great question. And it depends on how good the student is, and it depends on the grades. And this is why it's important for a student to be strong going into GCSEs and going into the last year of A-levels. The higher the grade, the higher the scholarship we will give. But without a scholarship, you're going to be investing about $300,000 for a 5-year program. With a scholarship, you're going to be paying around $220,000 for a 5-year MD program, around that kind of figure. So you're looking at about $35,000 for the pre-med for the first year, and you're looking at about $50,000 for the last 4 years. That's after a scholarship. But we give scholarships, and we're one of the only medical schools that I know of that gives a scholarship. So we're cheaper than all UK universities, all the universities in the UK. And we're cheaper than all US universities after scholarship. But yeah, it's a $250,000 really to put your kids through medical school.
If the founder of St. George's University were here right now, what would he be most proud of?
Success. And he is. How many doctors we have put into the global healthcare system, and how great St. George's graduates have become. It was a family business, as I've explained, and now it's this huge university. We have doctors in at least 2 graduates in the top 25 hospitals in the world. We've got the chief cardiologist in the Cleveland Clinic here in Abu Dhabi as a St. George's doctor. It's just the success that these doctors have bred. And literally, medicine's at the forefront in this pandemic. Everyone's talking about medicine now. And how proud he is about how the students have become fantastic doctors. They're in the Mayo Clinic, they're in the Cleveland Clinic, they're in Johns Hopkins. That's what he'd be most proud of.
What are you most proud of working for this inspiring university?
Family oriented. It's a very nice, it's a very, very nice university to work for. And we do what we say. And I think there's a lot of talk about medicine, certainly in this market. I mean, my background is I'm the education consultant to the government before I joined St. George's University. I've been here for a long time. And success. The students get looked after. The amount of messages I get from mothers and families and students going, thank you, is what really drives me, because when they get accepted, and then when they get on the dean's list after the first year, and you say, but look, I tell you, you can really, really do this. That's the driving factor. I mean, it's a really, really nice university, and we have a motto. Our main motto is students first, and I believe the university really does put the students and the families first, and that's where the success comes from.
It's incredible. Thank you so much, Mr. Courage. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I know that we'll have many eager students inquiring about the summer program and the different types of opportunities that St. George's University can provide us. Talk to me about the veterinary element of the school. So
the vet program is very competitive. Is super competitive. We have maybe 3 or 4 students from the UAE this year going. It's RVC. I mean, it's the top accredited veterinary program, accredited in the US, UK. Very similar structure to the MD program. They'd still need to have at A level the 3 sciences, biology and chemistry and maths plus 1 other. But the beauty of the vet program is we have sites all over the world. So they can go and do clinical sites in Australia, New Zealand. It's global. It is on Grenada, but their continuation, they can go everywhere. So it's lovely. I mean, it's a great program. But we don't have that much interest, to be honest with you, as we do obviously for the medicine. It's a much more. We have 200-300 students each year come into the veterinary program. Into the medical program, we have 1,000, literally.
Wow. I'm thinking, if I were a young person watching this interview, what would I really want to know? And I believe that question will be, if I'm not smart enough, if I feel that I'm not the ideal medical candidate, thinking about how this university was founded, can I still have a fighting chance?
100%. And I think I touched on that at the beginning. You don't have to be a great student. You know, our motto when it first started was we made average students great doctors. Now we've got better and better and better, and now we make great students great doctors, but still a BBB student is not a top student, correct? You know, it's an average student, and because of the support and because of that, if you really want to be a doctor, it's more about wanting to be a doctor, because a B student would not get into many other universities, but a B student with us, we will make them into a doctor. So it's all about wanting to be a doctor. So if you want it, you'll do it, right? And we'll give them the support to do it. We'll give them one-on-one tuition if we have to.
I can feel the passion in this
great.
Interview, and I'm sold. I want to be a doctor.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I know it's not all about money, but do you know what? The opening average salary of a St. George's graduate in the United States for life, $340,000 per year. So maybe I should have been a doctor. And 95% of them get that if they go to the States. So it's very secure. It's a very secure.
Dr. Bogdan said that he saw 6,000 more applicants applying to medical school through this pandemic. Has St. George's application process also increased?
Medicine's very much in everyone's forefront of their mind, absolutely, yeah, and we do. And you know, interestingly, there's a lot of career changes that we get. So we have a 4-year program, not a high school entry, so it will be different for your school, but we do have a 4-year program, and there are a lot of MBAs and lawyers we're getting calls from nowadays going, can I change my law degree into a medical degree? And we actually have a program to do it. So the answer is yes to them. So yeah, there is a lot of career changes just for medicine. And I think certainly Dr. Bogdan would have been right, because he's being in the UK, the NHS has been very widely, everybody's speaking about each country's healthcare system. And I think people are rallying around this, the pandemic, and then they see how important the healthcare systems in each country, whether it's here, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in the US. So I think this is a major reason why medicine has become very, very popular in the last 18 months or so, yeah.
I think what I'm taking away the most from this conversation is, if you really want to be a doctor, you can do it at St. George's.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for this time. It was such a pleasure meeting with you. And that brings us to the end of an incredible conversation we had with Sebastian Courage, who is the Director for the Middle East and North Africa for St. George's University in Grenada. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you at the next DESCareers Dubai English Speaking College Spotlight.